Hello designers, welcome back to Illustrator. We're going to be talking about the shape tool today. Very basics of the shape tool. Just a little bit to get you started in our first big project here. In Illustrator, we're going to open up Illustrator for one. And we are going to, I'm just going to double check something. All right, so we're going to go to File, New this time. It's the first time we're going to File, New. And we're going to click on one of the standard sizes. So you should have a option for a letter size, 11 by 8.5, all right? Or 8.5 by 11. I don't really care, it doesn't matter. We just need a basic blank document. So just as a quick review, we're going to leave it set on one artboard. Remember, that's basically the number of sheets of paper that's in your document. We're going to leave all the other things set as default, and we're going to click Create, and it should be a blank white document. All right, so let's talk about our tools here. So we have a tool drawer of shapes. We have the rectangle tool, the rounded rectangle, ellipse, polygon, star, and the flare tool. We are going to talk about the first 5, and we're going to start with the rectangle tool. So as a quick review, so by default, your foreground color, if you are set in the default setting, should be white on black. So white, fill, black, outline. And I can switch those by hitting the swap key. If I change my color somehow, if I want to go back to the defaults, I click on this little button here, the default fill and stroke. Okay, so let's go ahead and reset our defaults there. Stop the video, do that now. All right, with our rectangle tool, we are going to simply click and drag somewhere in our image. So you can see we have a white square, it's filled white with a black outline. So let's quickly review how to change the fill and stroke. So to change your fill, you have a variety of ways to do that. One way is to click on the drop down menu that's in the control panel at the top for the fill color option. So I can change it this way. I can also click on the foreground here, as long as it's on top, it's the overlapping square on top, and I can change it here. I can also open what's called the color panel, and I can change it here. Okay, so that's 3 very quick ways. So stop the video, and I want you to find a pink color now. All right, so let's go ahead and let's talk about our strokes. Remember, the stroke is the outline. So if I want to change the color of the stroke, again, 2 ways I can do this is I can click in the stroke color option up at the top. I can also change it here, but in order to change it here, I first have to click on it to bring it forward. So you saw how that worked. So I had to click on it to bring it forward. Then I can double click it and I can change it here. All right. I can also, as long as this is clicked forward, it's overlapping the fill option, I can, in my color panel, change it here as well. All right, so go ahead and stop the video, select a blue color. So I want a pink square that is stroked with a blue color. All right, let's talk about some options with stroke. Again, this should be a review, but we're going to go through it. So for your stroke option, you do have, obviously, your stroke size. You also have uniformity options, so I can change how that kind of skews, how it starts and stops. You also have the brush that it strokes it with. So by default, it should be set on basic, but some of us have experimented. You will see that in the defaults, there's some other options here. I can even go to the library and I can click on some of these more advanced stroke options. It does some crazy things, right? I can go to my bristle brushes, open some of those. So I want you to go ahead and stop the video, and I want you to apply a stroke that has some kind of a texture or pattern or something other. If you want to change the uniformity, you can, but you'll notice, depending on the type of brush that you stroked it with, you may or may not be able to change the uniformity. All right, but go ahead and stop the video and try that now. All right, let's go back to our fill option for a little bit. So click on the fill in your toolbox to bring that forward, because we're going to make some changes here. And remember, you have some color swatch libraries here. So you have your basic color panel here, but there's also a swatches panel, okay, which is in your window. So I have swatches here. They're all here. Basically, you'll notice, oh, that looks identical to that. Yeah, basically, this little option up in the control panel, that is just your swatches panel shoved into the control panel, all right? You have beyond basic colors of swatches, you do have some advanced swatch libraries. And it's this little button here. And we're gonna play around with two very specific ones. So we're gonna start first with the gradients one. And when you click on gradients, you're gonna notice obviously it's got some other folders of different kinds of gradients. So I want you to click on any one of these, it does not matter. And you should have another panel that should pop up, and it gives you some options for different gradients. So you can click through those and you'll notice it gives you some options for gradients. All right, stop the video, try that now. All right, so here's how you fine tune a gradient. So if I wanted to change the colors of this slightly, I can do that, but I have to have a tool to do that. You have to first apply a stroke. And it does not matter, I can apply any stroke, or I'm sorry, not stroke, gradient. You can apply any gradient you want in here. But once you have that, if you then come into your toolbox, you should have underneath your fill bucket, you should have this gradient tool option. If this is not here, it's probably because you have only the basic toolbox loaded, so you might have to go to your toolbars and make sure advanced is turned on. Okay, so again, if you don't have the gradient tool option, go to advanced. So when you open this up, you're going to get this weird thing that comes across your shape that has the gradient in it. And you have what are called color stops. Each one of these color stops controls the different colors and how they blend together. If I don't want one, I can simply click and drag. So if I decide I don't want that, if I want more or less of a color, I can drag it. If I want to change the colors, I can double click on those color stops, and it's going to open up this option here. Again, I can make it more or less. I can change the blending, like how little or how much it blends it. I can also change where it starts and stops, so I can pull that in. And the last kind of cool thing, if you let it hover, it's kind of a little temperamental, you should get, ooh, there I got it, a little circle with a dot in it, which means I can click and drag, and I can change that gradient's angle. All right, so stop the video, and I want you to try to fine tune a gradient and change the angle on it. All right, now that we've done that, let's go ahead and let's deselect that shape. We're gonna make a copy of the shape. As a review, how do you make a copy of a shape? All right, I could go up to edit, copy, edit, paste, but I don't wanna do that. Instead, I'm gonna be lazy. What's the keyboard shortcut? Did you say Alt? Good. Yep, if I hold down my Alt key and click and drag, I can have a copy of my square there. All right, the next swatch panel library that I want to go through is something called the pattern. So if we select our second square here, let's go to File. I'm sorry, not File. We're going to click on the drop-down menu here, and we're going to go to Patterns this time. And let's go to Decorative, and let's go to Decorative Legacy. And notice if I click on any one of these, it's got a bunch of different patterns. Now later in the semester, we're going to learn how to make our own patterns, but these are the default patterns that Illustrator has already for you. So go ahead and apply a pattern. Stop the video, do that now. All right, I want to show you that you can apply a pattern to a stroke. So in my toolbox, I can click the switch and it will actually flip those. So I now have a pattern in my stroke. Stop the video, try that now. Okay, let's go ahead and quickly go through the rest of our tools here, and then we're gonna have a little bit more review. I'm just gonna clean my workspace up here. I don't need all of this stuff. So let's go back to our tool drawer where the rectangle tool is, and I wanna grab the rounded rectangle tool. Let's go ahead and flip our selections here, and I don't care what you put your fill and stroke, but I just want you to change your fill and stroke. Oops, I don't want to do it to that square. I'm going to deselect that square. Grab my rounded rectangle. I'm just picking different colors. Okay, that's all I'm doing. So we're going to come into our image window, and we're going to click and drag. And so what the rounded rectangle tool does is it literally is a square or a rectangle, but it rounds the corners. Okay. If I want to make it more or less rounded, as I'm clicking and dragging, I haven't released my mouse button yet, I will use my arrow keys. If I use my arrow keys down, it's going to make it less rounded. If I hit my up arrow keys, it's going to make it more rounded to the point where I can almost make it a circle. So I want you to stop the video and try that rounded rectangle tool using your arrows to make the corners more or less rounded. All right, stop the video now. All right, excellent. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna do that one more time, but I just wanna show you an option that you can use for these tools. So let's say I wanted a perfect square. I want it to be exactly proportional so that it's not a rectangle. Well, the easiest way to do that is to hold down your shift key. So I'm gonna keep my rounded rectangle tool. I'm gonna leave my color presets. I'm gonna hold down my shift key though before I start clicking and dragging. And notice I have a red diagonal there, and it's showing you that as you click and drag, see how my width and my height are exactly the same dimension. Shift means perfect. If I did that with the circle or the ellipse tool and I held down my shift, it's gonna make a perfect circle. So stop the video. I want you to make a perfect square and a perfect circle. All right. Excellent. If you have any questions, make sure at any time you call me over. All right, we're moving on. Let's go ahead and go back to that tool. We're just keeping the same colors. If you want to change the colors, you can. But we're going to go down to our polygon tool. Polygon tool works just like the others. I can click and drag, but as I click and drag, if I hit my up and down arrows, instead of rounding or those corners, what it's doing is it's adding points. So if I hold my arrow key down, I can go all the way down to 3 points, or I can up it to add more points to my polygon. Stop the video and do that now. All right, last tool in here that we got to get to is our star tool. Star tool works just like the others. If I click and drag, if I hold down my arrow keys, I can go down to 3-point star, which is triangle, or I can increase it, but you must do this while you are dragging. All right, stop the video and try that now. Excellent. As a review, how do I select 3 of my shapes? Again, I don't care what 3 you select. How do you select 3 shapes? Right, I can just be lazy and click and drag over the 3 I want, or I can hold down my shift key and select 3 shapes. Now, how do I resize these shapes? Right, I hold one of the corner points and I move that in, but if I want to constrain it so I don't distort it, remember you hold your shift key. So I want you to stop the video and practice making your 3 shapes smaller, holding down the shift key. Excellent. All right, with your 3 shapes still selected, I almost want to show you, remind you that you can rotate. So stop the video and rotate them. You can also flip them. So stop the video, try to flip them. And you can also use something called the transform panel. This is new. So let's go up to Window and open up Transform. Oh, mine was already open. Where did it go? There it is. In here, you can shift on your XY axis. You can also rotate, so I can rotate 180. I can also, if I click on my drop down, I can flip vertical and flip horizontal. So if you want to flip things or rotate things, Transform panel is your best bet. One last tool you have is you also have the Transform or Rotate tool. So if I click on the Rotate tool, it will allow me to rotate them as well. So stop the video, try your Transform panel, try the Rotate tool. All right, excellent. We are chugging right along. Just double checking my notes. All right, so let's review one last time before we're off for the day. I want you to stack some of your shapes on top of each other. Select all of your shapes. How do we group these? Right, you can either right click and go to group, or you can go to object group. Either way that works. How do I ungroup those? Right, I can go to object ungroup, or I can right click and go to ungroup. So practice grouping and ungrouping your shapes. All right, one last thing I want you to do here today is we're just going to review arranging. So as a review with arrangement, if I want to shift this, if I would want my, let's say I want this square, this rounded rectangle to be behind this square, I would right click and you can arrange and you can send it to back. I can also bring to front. Or send to back again. So stop the video and just quickly review bringing forward and sending to the back. All right. Excellent. That is our basic recap of the shape tools. You will be using these in our first project, which is the quote poster. Good job.